Mike, Maria, elected officials here in Alaska say they already have plans in the works to minimize the impacts of a potential shutdown, specifically for our military.
Minutes ago, Joe Rogan announced on his show that the U.S. government has dramatically shut down Alaska following a drone's discovery of something so significant it's forced officials to take immediate action.
Video evidence that they can't ignore. When you talk to high-level people at the government and people like Commander David Fravor, who had that infamous spotting off of the coast of San Diego.
People are guessing it could be military secrets or even something from outer space. What did the drone find in Alaska's vast icy lands? What was uncovered might just be the tip of the iceberg, and it's not the only revelation that will leave you shocked. Secrets from the sky. Nobody knows exactly what the drone found, but the fact that the government closed off such a large area shows that whatever was discovered must be really important or possibly dangerous. This has caused endless speculation online, with theories ranging from military activities to encounters with aliens. The drastic shutdown makes people wonder if it could have major impacts on national security, technology, or hidden government plans. Stay tuned as we soon uncover the chilling truths lurking behind Alaska's shutdown. Truths that could shake the very foundations of what we believe about our world and beyond. With its vast and remote expanses, Alaska is strategically positioned near Russia, underscoring its critical importance for military operations. The state hosts multiple military bases, and its challenging terrain provides an ideal setting for conducting secretive activities.
Airplane is taken control of when he suddenly sees these flying disc-shaped objects around them that lead him to the ground.
The swift action to shut down the state following a drone's discovery indicates that the findings are of substantial importance, hinting at potential implications for national security or revealing significant hidden activities. Drones are becoming more important in both surveillance and military work. These advanced machines have sensors and artificial intelligence that can pick up on things traditional methods might miss. It's not clear if this particular drone was operated by the government or a civilian, but its discovery was big enough to cause a statewide shutdown. This highlights how important drones have become in security and raises questions about privacy, the limits of surveillance, and how these technologies might change global politics. Alaska's location, between the U.S. and Russia, makes it an essential place for national defense. If what the drone found is related to security, the closure might be a way to keep sensitive information hidden from other countries. The U.S. could be trying to protect classified experiments or operations critical for national defense. There's also the chance that the drone discovered something tied to Alaska's natural resources, like oil, gas, or rare minerals.
The whole crew saw a whole bunch of silver darting objects, and they are round. And he says they're doing the strangest thing. They're going like to this peak in a group, to this peak in a group, to this peak in a group, and then they'd all take off.
These resources are vital for making electronics and military equipment. If the drone uncovered a new resource or a breakthrough in how these resources are extracted, the government might be trying to keep this information secret. With competition for energy resources growing worldwide, it would make sense for the U.S. to want to secure this discovery. Events like this also have social and psychological effects. People often become more suspicious of the government when they don't get clear answers, which can lead to a rise in conspiracy theories, especially online. The secrecy around this situation has caused many to wonder if larger hidden activities are happening, such as secret military projects or even alien technology. Joe Rogan's discussion of the incident has only added to the public's curiosity and doubt. His podcast, known for tackling controversial subjects, brings attention to alternative views that the mainstream media might not focus on. By covering this event, Rogan has reached a wide audience, from casual listeners to people already skeptical of government actions. This has made many think deeper about how events like this could impact their safety, freedoms, and the transparency of their leaders. At the heart of this whole situation is the question of how open the government really is. Most people understand that some things need to stay secret for national security reasons, but the sudden shutdown of Alaska makes it clear that there's a tricky balance between keeping people safe and keeping them informed. When big actions like this happen without a proper explanation, it can make people lose trust in the government. They start to wonder what else might be going on behind their backs, which could lead to a bigger problem of people not trusting those in charge. The shutdown also comes with serious economic consequences. Alaska relies a lot on industries like tourism, fishing, and energy. Shutting down large parts of the state could really hurt local businesses and the communities that depend on them. The people who make their living from these industries are left in a tough spot, unsure of when things will get back to normal. This uncertainty could have a ripple effect, impacting everything from supply chains to global markets, especially if the event ties into how resources are being managed or global security issues. This incident also shows how complicated the world of international politics is becoming, especially with all the new technology we have. The fact that a drone made a discovery and the government acted so quickly shows just how much technology is changing the way power, security, and surveillance work. Drones and artificial intelligence are now a big part of both defense and daily life, and the lines between what's public and private, or what belongs to the state versus the individual, are getting blurrier. This event highlights how new tech might shake up traditional systems of power and raise new questions about ethics, laws, and security. Even though we don't know exactly what the drone found, there's a chance it could be something that changes the game for technology, military strategies, or even science. Some people are starting to believe the US government could be hiding information about unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, what most people call UFOs. If the drone discovered evidence of UAPs or advanced technology, the impact could be huge. It could change how we see ourselves in the universe and force governments to rethink how much they share with the public. Alaska shutdown. This shutdown could be a test run for how governments handle future situations involving sensitive discoveries. As technology keeps advancing and better tools for gathering information develop, events like this might happen more often. Governments will need to figure out how to keep the public calm, control the flow of information, and protect national security without causing panic or chaos. The Alaska shutdown also gives us a glimpse into what the future could look like, raising important questions about how much control governments should have when unexpected things are discovered. On a bigger scale, the implications of what happened in Alaska could go beyond just the US. It could impact relationships with other countries, especially if it's linked to military technology or defense. The discovery might even lead to a global arms race, as other nations try to catch up with or outdo whatever the US found. If it's related to resources or the environment, it could spark global conversations about who gets to control those resources, which is becoming more critical as climate change and energy needs grow. As more people learn about the Alaska shutdown, conversations about government transparency, drones, and national security are likely to grow. Social media and alternative news outlets are already buzzing with different theories, and as more information, or even misinformation, comes out, it could shape how the public views the government and its actions. This event might become a rallying point for people demanding more openness from the government, or for those worried about the rise of surveillance technology at home.
His airplane is taken control of when he suddenly sees these flying disc-shaped objects around them that lead him to the ground.
As this story continues to unfold, there's still a lot we don't know. However, the fact that a drone made a discovery, followed by a quick response from the government, shows that big changes are on the horizon as both technology and global politics continue to evolve. The recent events in Alaska have brought attention to just how important this region is, even though it's far from most people's everyday lives. Alaska might seem remote and isolated, but it's a place full of resources and strategic importance. What happened there shows that even in quiet places, technology and national interests are constantly shaping history in ways we don't always notice right away. Joe Rogan's coverage of the sudden shutdown of Alaska has opened up a lot of questions and debates. We still don't know exactly what was found, but the fact that the government acted so quickly has sparked a lot of curiosity. This incident highlights bigger issues, like the mix of technology, national security, and how much people trust or don't trust those in power. One of the main things this Alaska shutdown shows is the growing tension between secrecy and the public's right to know. In today's world where information is everywhere, governments still keep some things hidden. The Alaska event reminds us that there are parts of national security where being open isn't possible. While keeping things secret can be necessary to protect sensitive information, it also leads to a lot of speculation and doubt among the public. Over time, governments have always kept some things private, but technology has made it harder to draw the line between what should stay secret and what should be shared. Tools like drones, artificial intelligence, and satellite imaging now let everyday people or smaller countries access data that used to only be available to big governments. The fact that a drone, whether it was private or government-operated, could find something important in Alaska shows just how much technology is changing the game. This discovery in Alaska goes beyond just this one event. It raises big questions about how technology might shift power and control. Drones, for example, are already key for surveillance and military operations, but as they get smarter and more powerful, they can find things that might be best kept hidden. This could mean that in the future, technology will regularly uncover secrets that challenge governments and change how national security works. What happened in Alaska could be a preview of a future where governments can no longer control what information stays hidden. With more people and private groups having access to powerful technology, it will get harder for governments to manage the flow of information. This could lead to big changes in how nations protect their secrets and deal with unexpected discoveries.
At that time, my rank was First Lieutenant Commander, Naval Special Operations. We were inbound the southeast coast of Antarctica. We were dispatched for, unofficially, was a research reconnaissance mission.
Because of this, national security plans may need to change, not just to guard against other countries, but also to handle the risks of independent discoveries that could expose sensitive details. Alaska, being close to Russia, has always been important for U.S. defense. Shutting down such a crucial area could suggest that what was found might have affected military operations in some way. The Arctic region, encompassing Alaska, is increasingly becoming a hotspot of geopolitical rivalry among major powers such as the U.S., Russia, and China. The effects of climate change are rapidly melting the Arctic ice, unveiling new resources and creating viable new shipping lanes, thereby escalating the strategic significance of this region for future dominion. If the discovery made by the drone is indeed connected to these broader geopolitical dynamics, this could clarify the U.S. government's rapid decision to implement a shutdown in parts of Alaska. The ongoing struggle for control over the Arctic is not a recent development. The United States has long acknowledged the strategic importance of Alaska, maintaining critical military installations like Elmendorf and Eielson Air Force bases to monitor Russian activities in the adjacent airspace. This backdrop of increasing international focus and tension highlights why any significant findings by surveillance technologies such as drones could prompt swift and decisive governmental actions. Shutting down Alaska after a drone discovery could mean that the find has serious national security implications, possibly involving foreign powers. Whether it's about spying, military technology, or a breach of U.S. defense systems, the quick response suggests it's not just an ordinary situation. With the Arctic's role in future global trade and its vast oil and gas reserves, controlling this region could shape world power. Countries like Russia and China are already investing heavily in the area, making Alaska and the Arctic even more significant in the global game of politics and resources, tech, trust, and territory. This event in Alaska raises some big questions, especially about how much control the government really has over new technology. Drones, artificial intelligence, and other advanced tools can now collect huge amounts of data, way more than we ever thought possible. In this case, a drone found something so important that the government decided to shut down part of Alaska, which is the biggest state in the U.S. The fact that they acted so fast and on such a large scale shows how these technologies are changing the game. What used to be secrets that only government agencies could keep can now be discovered by private people or even other countries. This is a challenge for governments everywhere, and the Alaska incident might set an example for how they deal with similar situations in the future. Countries might need to come up with new ways to handle discoveries made by private tech. It looks like the U.S. government is already thinking about how to control the story when private individuals or companies find things that challenge its control over important information. While some people wonder if the drone found something connected to aliens, the US government has always played down the idea of extraterrestrial involvement. Still, with all the recent talk about unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, it's getting harder to ignore these possibilities. Alaska, being so big and empty, is the perfect place for secret military tests or experiments. It's also a place where strange things could go unnoticed for a while. If the drone found signs of extraterrestrial life or technology, it would explain why the government reacted so strongly and quickly. Joe Rogan, talking about this on his show, brought even more attention to the Alaska shutdown. Rogan's platform often challenges the usual stories we hear from the media, and by covering this event, he's getting more people interested in something that might have otherwise gone under the radar. Rogan has a lot of influence, and by bringing up controversial topics, he ensures that people will keep talking about this incident. His conversations also get people thinking about what the government might be hiding, especially when it comes to aliens or advanced technology.
If there's a government shutdown, our military members are still going to be deployed all over the world. They're going to be on ships, on submarines, flying in the skies, and they're not going to get paid.
If what was discovered in Alaska is connected to extraterrestrial technology or UAPs, it would be a huge deal. It could change how we think about our place in the universe and force governments to be more open about what they know. With more people getting curious about UAPs and strange phenomena, especially after the US government admitted to looking into these things, there could be more pressure on the government to be honest about what's happening in Alaska and other places. Beyond the possibility of military or alien connections, the shutdown of Alaska could also have major environmental effects. Alaska is home to some of the world's most untouched natural landscapes, as well as valuable resources like oil, gas, and rare minerals. If the drone found new reserves that are important for modern technology, the US government might be moving fast to secure these resources before anyone else tries to claim them. Controlling these discoveries could have a big impact on global markets and how countries manage their environmental and economic strategies. The quick action taken by the government might show that they're not just trying to protect sensitive military or environmental information, but also to manage the bigger global effects this discovery could have. This isn't just about Alaska. It could impact the US on an international level too. It's a reminder of how tricky it is to balance keeping the country safe while also being open with the public. Governments have to walk a fine line between protecting important secrets and building trust with people. As drones and other technologies keep advancing and are used more in everyday life and defense, questions around privacy and who controls the skies are becoming more important than ever. The situation in Alaska could end up being a key example of how we deal with these issues in the future. It might push governments to create new rules about how drones are used and who can control them.
I was enormously frustrated, and I will keep trying to bring my bill to the floor and get it passed the way it was passed unanimously.
The shutdown in Alaska also brings up big environmental issues. Alaska has lots of natural resources like oil and minerals, and it's in a strategic location. The way the US handles this discovery could set an example for how we manage resources in the future, especially as other countries are also looking at the Arctic. How the government deals with Alaska could impact everything from environmental protection to global competition over resources. Another important part of this is how it affects society. When the government keeps secrets and people like Joe Rogan bring attention to them, it can really change how the public feels. Rogan's huge platform means more people are talking about this than they would have otherwise. This could make people more interested in government transparency and spark new conversations about topics that usually don't get much attention. As this story keeps developing, the US government will need to think about more than just keeping the discovery secure. They'll have to consider the bigger picture, like how this affects people's trust, the environment, and the country's relationships with other nations. How the government handles this will likely shape public opinion and impact international relations for a long time, showing just how complicated things can get when new technology meets old ideas about national security. What if the secrets buried in Alaska's icy expanse could shift the global balance of power overnight? As we wrap up, remember to like and subscribe for more revelations. Could the government be hiding more than we imagined?